I remember the exact moment I realized something was deeply wrong. It was a regular Tuesday. I was sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, coffee going cold, staring at my bank account like it owed me an apology. I was making good money, more than my parents ever made, more than I thought I'd earn at this age. I had the job, the apartment, the subscriptions, the gadgets, and the weekend brunches. And I had $847 in savings. That was it. That was the entire cushion between me and financial collapse. One car repair or medical bill, and I would be completely underwater. I didn't cry. I just felt a hollow, sinking feeling. And I had been running as hard as I could for years, only to end up further behind the starting line than when I began. If that feeling sounds familiar to you, if you are tired of playing a financial game where the rules seem rigged against your peace of mind, take a second right now to hit subscribe. And this channel, Nora Money Mind, is built entirely for this conversation. We explore how to stop just performing wealth and how to actually start building it. Join us and let's change the operating system together, because that's exactly what I had to do. I started Googling budgeting tips, watching videos about cutting lattes, and color-coding finance apps. None of it worked. Not because the advice was wrong, but because it never touched the actual problem. It was surface-level medicine for a bone-deep illness. Then, by accident, I found a translated book from the 1970s written by a Japanese economist. Around page 40, I stopped reading and just sat there, and it blew apart everything I thought I knew about money. It wasn't about earning more, sacrifice, or hustle. It was about something quieter. I changed nothing about my income. I didn't get a raise or start a side hustle. I kept the same job, salary, and apartment. But everything else changed. The way I thought about spending, owning, and what money actually is. Same operating system, entirely different results. This video is about that operating system. American consumer culture is engineered to make you feel like you are almost wealthy, but not quite yet. Always one more purchase away. There is a kind of wealth that is loud and performative, announcing itself through big cars and logos that say, "Look at me, I have arrived." Then there is another kind of wealth entirely. In Japan, it's called Shizuka na Tomi, quiet wealth. In Japanese culture, quiet isn't a lack of noise. The quiet is the point. Restraint is the status signal. A person who practices quiet wealth spends less, not because they can't afford more, but because they see through the performance. They've graduated past needing to impress strangers with money they worked too hard to earn. In the West, we're taught that spending is the reward. Treat yourself. In Japan, restraint is the reward. Clarity is the luxury. Owning less is the flex. The moment that shift happened inside me, everything became simpler. Let me show you exactly what that looks like in practice through 6 distinct habits. Habit 1. The envelope that breathes. Long before digital banking, Japanese households operated on a system called kakeibo, developed in 1904 by Hani Motoko, one of Japan's first female journalists. She understood that the physical act of writing money down fundamentally changes your psychological relationship with it. Modern automation puts your brain to sleep. When rent autopays, subscriptions silently renew, and digital wallets let you spend $60 in 3 seconds, your brain registers zero friction. Kakeibo introduces cognitive friction, a healthy speed bump. You write down what you have, what you need, and what you spent. At the end of the month, instead of asking a binary, "Did I stick to my budget?" you ask 4 open questions. How much do I have? How much do I want to save? How much did I spend? And how can I improve? This shifts your mindset from shame to curiosity. Take Marcus, a project manager making $72,000 a year. Every month, his budgeting app sent him a colorful pie chart showing how he overspent. He'd feel terrible for a day, then go right back to his habits. Last January, Marcus switched to a cheap paper notebook, tracking his numbers by hand. And within 6 weeks, he realized he was spending $340 a month on food delivery. Simply because he was tired. The app had shown him that number a dozen times, but writing it by hand made it real. He capped it at $80 a month, saved the difference, and has kept to it ever since. Habit 2. The pause that prints money. There is a Japanese concept called ma, which translates to negative space, the intentional gap between things. And Japanese culture treats empty space not as its absence, but as a presence. The space between the notes is part of the song. Applied to money, ma becomes a waiting practice. Before any non-essential purchase, you pause. In traditional samurai economic philosophy, this meant waiting 24 hours for small items and 30 days for major purchases. It isn't about deprivation. It's about letting the manufactured urgency of desire dissolve naturally to see what remains. Modern marketing is built to eliminate ma. Only 3 left in stock, and sale ends tonight, are precision engineered to collapse the space between wanting and buying. A 2024 National Retail Federation study found that 73% of Americans regret an impulse purchase every single month, spending an average of $114 on things they wish they hadn't bought. My friend Danielle, a nurse, used to open retail apps whenever she felt stressed or bored at work. She was spending $200 a month in invisible, minor transactions, and she started keeping a 30-day list in her phone. Any non-essential item went on the list with a date. After 30 days, she was completely free to buy it. And at the end of the first month, she reviewed her list of 17 items. She bought exactly 2. The other 15 had simply stopped mattering. Habit 3. The honest inventory. The concept of danshari emerged from the work of Hideko Yamashita, standing for dan, meaning to refuse, sha, meaning to discard, and ri, meaning to separate oneself from attachment. Financially, danshari means auditing every single recurring cost and asking one brutal question. Does this expense belong in the future I am actively building? And not am I using it, or would I miss it? Those are weak questions with comfortable answers. A 2025 Chase Bank report found that 71% of Americans pay for at least one subscription they completely forgot existed. Danshari forces you to handle each expense directly, look at it consciously, and release it without guilt if it doesn't align with your trajectory. Leticia, a high school teacher, did her first honest inventory and uncovered $310 a month in forgotten or useless subscriptions, including a gym membership from a city she moved away from 2 years prior and software she hadn't touched since lockdown. That's over $3,700 a year recovered, sitting in plain sight. Habit 4. The invisible architecture. There is an ancient Japanese proverb, hara hachibu, which translates to eat until you are 80% full. It's about leaving deliberate space and never reaching the edge of excess, which is where the damage happens. Applied to your finances, it means living on 80% of what you earn. The other 20% must structurally disappear through automation into investments and emergency reserves before it ever hits your main checking account. The moment money lands in your primary account, your brain reclassifies it as available, making it almost impossible not to spend. While the average American savings rate hovers around 3 to 4%, Japan's household savings rate historically runs much higher. That gap, compounded over a career, is the difference between chronic anxiety and absolute freedom. James, a tech support representative earning $58,000, always failed at saving because he spent whatever was left over. He set up an automated transfer of 20% directly into a Roth IRA and a high-yield savings account to trigger on his exact payday. Because he never saw it, he never built spending habits around it. In 2 years, he built a $23,000 net worth from absolute zero on the exact same salary. Habit 5. The anti-upgrade oath. In Japanese philosophy, mono no aware represents a deep appreciation for the impermanence of the world. It teaches you to look at an object and appreciate its present value right now. Consumer culture teaches the exact opposite. A newer, better version is always coming to finally satisfy you. This drives lifestyle inflation. It doesn't hit you like a crash. It seeps under the door. You get a raise, so you get a bigger apartment. You pay off your car, so you upgrade to a newer model. A 25 Federal Reserve report noted that median American household consumption rises in near direct proportion to income. Wealth never accumulates because it is constantly swallowed by an expanding definition of what feels normal. Mono no aware is the skill of feeling the full value of what you already own. Sasha, a social worker, made a personal anti-upgrade oath after her last raise. She would not expand a single lifestyle category for 1 full year. Same phone, same car, same apartment. Every dollar of her raise went straight into her savings architecture. By the end of the year, she had saved an extra $14,000. But more importantly, she felt more grounded and less restless. She stopped treating her present life as a waiting room for an upgraded future. Habit 6. The seen hand. The adult version of the traditional Japanese practice okei no kyoku, meaning money education, is simple. You track not just where your money goes, but why it went there. You map the emotional trigger. Traditional budgeting treats money like pure mathematics. Income minus expenses equals savings. If the math is wrong, we are told to just try harder. But spending isn't rational. It's highly emotional, usually driven by boredom, stress, or social comparison. You aren't buying the item. You're buying the feeling you think it will give you. The seen hand practice asks you to name the emotion at the exact moment of purchase. Naming an emotion in real time measurably reduces its intensity, creating a tiny gap between the feeling and the action. In that gap, a conscious choice can live. Trevor, a warehouse supervisor, carried $18,000 in credit card debt for 6 years. He knew exactly where his money went, but he didn't know why. When he started writing a one-word emotion next to every non-essential purchase, he discovered that 80% of his discretionary spending happened on Sunday evenings. He was using automated shopping to cope with anxiety about the upcoming work week. Instead of fighting the spending with willpower, he replaced the habit with a 30-minute Sunday evening walk. His discretionary spending dropped by $400 a month without white-knuckling, because he targeted the root instead of the symptom. He cleared his entire debt in 19 months. Let's look back at that kitchen table. The person sitting there with $847 in her account wasn't failing because she was weak or undisciplined. She was failing because she was running an operating system engineered to produce that exact outcome. Spend more, feel less, chase harder, arrive nowhere. The 6 habits we covered today don't ask you to be perfect or to sacrifice your life for a distant retirement number. They ask you to wake up and see the gap between the life you are performing and the life you are actually living. Money is energy. When it leaks through boredom purchases, forgotten subscriptions, and lifestyle upgrades, your future is bleeding out while you're too tired to notice. The people who build genuinely lasting wealth are often shockingly unimpressive in person. They drive ordinary cars, wear no massive logos, and live below their means. They carry a quality of being settled. They have a relationship with money that stopped costing them their peace. Quiet wealth is a philosophy, and a philosophy compounds differently than an investment. An investment compounds money. A philosophy compounds clarity, habits, and time. If this conversation reached something real in you today, and you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, because stopping the financial bleeding is only half the picture. We need to talk about where to direct that recovered money. Sending your resources into the wrong financial vehicles is the costliest mistake most people make. And that is exactly what we are going to break down in the next video.